What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the shop. Right here we have a kitchen base cabinet, and today I'm going to show you everything you need to know to be able to make your own cabinets, whether it's for a bathroom or a kitchen remodel like we're doing right now. This is a base cabinet, whether it's for a kitchen or a bathroom, laundry room, they're all going to be assembled pretty much the same way. Does it have to be this way? No, but this has worked for me, having built several kitchens, bathroom hutches, laundry room, lockers, etc., etc. There's several different components. You have a face frame, you have the sides, you have the bottom, you have the back, and then you have 4 cross members. Top, bottom, and then you got nailers on the back. The first thing we are going to get started doing is breaking down the side pieces.
As you can see here, there's a lot of plywood out in the unconditioned side of the barn, and it's out there because that is the easiest way for me to get all of this material safely inside out of the weather. I was able to unload off a truck right onto sawhorses in the barn. And then as I need pieces, run out there and grab one, break them down first on the table saw, stack them up wherever I could. There was a ton of pieces. And then I used the Kreg ACS with kind of a jig that I set up, a crosscut jig, on the workbench to break everything down to its final lengths. I find that the toe kicks cut out really easy on the bandsaw, especially if you put a magnetic stop in place for repeatable cuts.
Right now we are going to be breaking down these cross member components and putting in the pocket holes. These are obviously installed in various different orientations depending on how you want to hide those pocket holes or fasten your cabinets to the wall.
You guessed it, we're cutting more pieces out on the table saw. A bunch of long strips for all of these cross members. Once we got those, we'll move over to the miter saw where we have a stop block set up so we can make a whole bunch of repeatable cuts. Once that's done, Ethan will take over and drill all of the pocket holes on the Kreg Foreman.
Now we're going to cut the 1/4-inch panel that is on the back here, and then we also have a 1/4-inch dado that runs down the back of the side pieces, and we have a dado on the bottom that accepts the base, and we're going to cut those right now.
Before you change out your blade for the dado stack, you do want to make sure you break down all of your stock so that you don't have to deal with all those shims again, changing your blade in and out. And be careful, because the back 1/4-inch, air quotes, 1/4-inch material is not actually a 1/4-inch, at least in my case. So you will see me adjust the Big Eye rip fence system on the Harvey table saw to adjust between stops. It's very, very small. It's like maybe a 32nd, maybe a maximum of a 16th adjustment left to right, to use the regular blade on the table saw to make this 1/4-inch cut. Now we can change out and go up to 3/4 of an inch to make the big ol' hog out dado cut in the bottom, which is going to be where the, again, not quite 3/4-inch plywood is going to slide into that dado for the base.
This video has been brought to the channel by Kreg Power Tools. And yes, I did say power tools. Now, my woodworking journey really started with this little tool right here. This is a Kreg R3. I still use it today, although it's pretty much retired by the Rebel that we have right here. But I remember when I got this, it really changed my perspective of how I could put wood together, and that's what started the whole DIY Tyler journey about 15 years ago. This little tool right here. But Kreg has expanded, and they have come out with the Ionic drive line of power tools. Before us right here, we have the cordless ACS track saw. We have an impact wrench from Kreg. I got a drill inside side, and then this is the Kreg Ionic Rebel, which is a way of bringing the tool to the product to drill your pocket holes instead of the other way around. Obviously, this is something that you could bring to the product or the project to drill your holes as well. But let me tell you, drilling with this versus drilling with this is night and day. You could probably do 100 pocket holes with this, where you might do 10 with something like this. Very, very awesome. Now, I will say the drill, which I have inside, I'm very impressed with. Most importantly, I'm impressed with the clutch, which when doing pocket holes, when drilling, screwing in pocket holes and pocket screws, you don't want to strip it out, so you want to make sure you have an accurate clutch. And I have been very pleased with the accuracy of that clutch from the Kreg drill. Now, go ahead and check out KregTools.com to get your hands on any of these. Obviously, you can check out the home centers as well, but they are often running excellent deals on KregTool.com, so check them out. And thank you, Kreg, for being a long-time sponsor of the DIY Tyler channel. Now, this is the face frame. In our case, this is a raw ash with a clear coat on it. You can have these in various different configurations for however you need your kitchen or cabinet to be. You will notice I like to install them flush, and there's reasons for that that I will go into later. But this is all got to be broken down, milled down, pocket holes, drilled in that, and then glued and fastened up, and that's what we're going to do right now.
Face frames. These were a lot of fun, if you can hear the dripping sarcasm through your earbuds. This was a pain in the neck, to be honest. It took forever to mill all this material down to the 3/4 of an inch that we needed, but you cannot get face frame material from a cabinet supply distributor in ash, and that is what we're building this kitchen out of. At least the face frames and the doors, everything you're going to see is raw ash. The last two kitchens that I built, they were poplar, and we were going to color lacquer everything, so it didn't matter what our material was. So we were able to use poplar, which you can get in a face frame style from a cabinet distributor. I think the face frame is 1.5 inches, which is what we were able to break everything down to after we milled down, broke everything down on the miter saw, and then drilled the hundreds of pocket holes we needed on the Kreg Foreman. You are going to glue everything together, and you want them to be nice and snug, so you need to make sure you remove any of those cattails to make sure that they don't get in the way. And then you do want something nice and square so that you can clamp against it and reference against the sides. Like the sides of my assembly table, I know are a perfect 90 degrees, so I'm able to use that to make sure the face frames are nice and square. Once you have everything glued up, don't let the sanding ruin your project, so give it its due diligence. And here, what am I doing with glue? So any little gap you have, you can dab a little bit of wood glue in there, and then sand right over the top of it, and the sawdust will mix in with the glue and make that gap nearly invisible.
And now we're going to go ahead and assemble this entire thing together, sliding everything into our dados, glue where appropriate, and then everything is put together with 1 1/4 inch coarse pocket screws and a couple of 18 gauge brad nails.
I do apologize that we don't have a fantastic shot of this assembly process because you cannot see my face, and I know that's why you guys are all here watching the channel, so I'll just explain what's going on for you. We are using Titebond Quick and Thick to fasten these cross members between the side panels. Obviously, you want to make sure your dados are in the proper spots, and then you're going to use 1 1/4 inch coarse pocket screws for the assembly and some 18 gauge brad nails through the backer board into those cross members. In the past, we have used Bessie parallel clamps to hold everything in place while we are fastening the boxes together, but I have found that this Kreg quick clamp is way faster. There's much more travel when you actually squeeze the clamp shut, so quicker to use, quicker to slide back and forth. I'll need to get myself a couple more of them for future cabinet builds.
Just so I didn't drill the pocket holes to fasten the face frames in the wrong spot, we are now going to use the Kreg Rebel, which is a cordless ionic drive pocket hole machine from Kreg, and we're going to drill these holes and make sure we don't drill them on visible faces, which I have done in the past and made a big mistake. We're going to drill those now and fasten on these face frames.
And to drill all these pocket holes, I'm going to do them in the house on the last little bits of carpet using the Kreg Rebel, which is powered with the cordless ionic drive system that Kreg has released. and this tool is a lot of fun. I was able to roll the cabinet over. You can see pocket holes on that top cross member and on the sides. Kind of roll it over on the last bits of carpet we had in the house and drill all of the pocket holes in very, very quick order. Once those pocket holes were all drilled, a little bit of glue and some clamps to hold the face frame in place while applying it permanently with 1 1/4 inch coarse pocket screws.
In this particular video, we're going to be putting down a couple of cabinets, and I'm going to show you the process for an island. So we're going to put 2x4s down on the floor that are bolted to the joist, and then we're going to fasten the cabinet in place against those 2x4s. But if you were installing these up against the wall, which will be a different video, you would fasten through the back into the studs. Let's go ahead and install those island cabinets right now.
You know, it's a bit of a funny story. A couple of weeks ago, I was watching a YouTube video from my buddy John Builds It. You can check him out here on the YouTubes. And I was kind of perusing around for a while, trying to figure out the best way to fasten the island in a way that you don't see it later on. And ironically, he had a video come out just in time that showed this exact same process that I'm using today. So shout out to John, go check out his channel. Very helpful little tips here and there. Once we had the screws in the bottom of the cabinets, I did make sure the face frames were all flush and added a cabinet screw through the front of the face. And why am I backing it in and out? This is just to make sure there's no gap between the face frames.
Now, I did mention that this one in particular had space in the face frame for a drawer and a cabinet down below here. Drawers are going to be in a different video on the channel. There is a link up somewhere to a playlist for this entire kitchen build, but this is actually a tray, but this is just a smaller version of the drawers, and we're going with undermount slides here. And I want to bring that up because I mentioned a flush face frame build right here. If you're doing a base cabinet like this, it is handy because you don't have to have any back mounts on your drawer slides and suspend the whole thing in the air. You're able to screw these against the sides of the 3/4 inch cabinet, in my opinion, making it a much sturdier drawer. Now, you don't have to install everything flush. You do have to be conscious of what style of hinges you are going to use depending on what you do. Because I have a frameless cabinet, even though I have a face frame, it's considered frameless because it is flush, and we need a long arm Euro style hinge, which is going to mount against the side of the cabinet here and pull the door nice and tight against this face frame. If you had a reveal on here, so the face frame is not as wide as the cabinet, you would want to go with a face frame hinge, and it has these little tabs which will mount across. It'll straddle the face frame board. I'm using this as an example because I can't get the face frame hinge in here because we don't technically have a face frame, so to speak, in the construction. If you did have that reveal, you would want to go with a hinge style like this. Just something to be conscious of when you're designing your cabinets. Well, that is a wrap on this build. As you can see, we have got all of the base cabinets of this kitchen and the uppers installed and pretty much back in use. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. You learned something. If you have any questions, leave them down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe and follow along on the playlist of this epic kitchen remodel. We have so much going on and so much to share. Again, hope you guys enjoyed the video. Please hammer that thumbs up button. I'm DIY Tyler, and you guys have a good one.